All right, so we are up to number 9 of 11. Number 9 is adding a new field, and we are going to use that package manager console that I showed you yesterday. We're going to do that in here. All right. Now notice what it says. By default, when you use Entity Framework code first to automatically create a database, as you did earlier in the tutorial, code first adds a table to the database to help you track whether the schema is in sync. You don't typically have to worry about that. Not only that, you typically don't want to touch that because it's a system table. All right? So I'm going to have you do this a little different than they show it right here. So hopefully you didn't go ahead. All right? They tell you to come in here, click on this, and they say, hey, just remove this. You know what? With all the bad luck we seem to have, at least occasionally, instead of removing it, let's right mouse click on our movies thing and let's rename it. And let's just call it Movies MVC-Original. All right? Just that way we've got it in there. If by some weird chance something goes to hell, we could always go and use that one again. Does that make sense to everybody? Even our problem child who's managed to reload his software, does at least the concept make sense to you? Yeah, I know. No, you're. I mean, if you spend the period tomorrow just working on it, you'll catch back up. All right. So, like I said, the first thing that we were told to do there then was to navigate over and delete it. Well, we didn't do that. All right. Then it says build the application again to make sure there are no errors. So there's two things we should do. The first thing is to do a save all. The second thing is to do a build solution. And as the author says, we shouldn't get any errors from doing that. All right? We're going to wait until he catches up then. Well, the good news is I went over there yesterday, and the lady says, well, you know, you owe $99.52. And I said, well, I don't think you're right. She didn't like that at all. You know, she didn't say anything, but she didn't like that. I was like, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, two things. I said, first of all, I was quoted a price of $10,000 by the person who worked here before you. They left this summer. She goes, I don't even think she's allowed to quote you a price because you hadn't picked out a meal. No, what she said made sense. She said you hadn't picked out a meal package. You hadn't picked out a bunch of stuff. So I don't know how she could tell you that. And she goes, what's the second thing? And I said, well, I was told we would get some kind of a rebate because my daughter and her fiance are being sponsored by people who are members of this club. She said, well, that I didn't know. So they ended up, out of the $2,000 extra they charged me, I got $750 of that back. So it's kind of like it's a victory. All right? So it's as big a victory as I'm going to get. All right, is it up? All right. Then let's click Tools and go down in Tools to Nuget Package Manager and then do Package Manager Console. Just so you know, if you look up on the screen, it's not what it says in here because this is a little old, so they've changed the names of some of these things. All right. So we went to Tools, Nuget Package Manager. They said go to Tools, Library Package Manager. It's not that big a thing, But then under Nuget Package Manager, they say choose Package Manager Console. It is still that. And if you look up on the screen after you do that, it brings this up. Okay? You should all see this in the middle of your screen here. We are at, the console means literally it's like a DOS type of interface. It's not with a black background and white text, but it's still pretty much the same thing. All right. In the Package Manager console, at PM, which stands for Package Manager, they want us to type in this. Okay? Now, when you type in this, just so you know, when you type this in, it is case sensitive. All right? So, as it says here, we're going to type in enable minus migrations, and I'm going to lift this up so you can all see it okay. Enable space migrations, no space between those. Enable hyphen, I should say, migrations. Then a space minus context type name. All right. Then another blank space, MVC movie dot models dot movie DB context 2. I'm going to leave that up there for a second. I think I typed it incorrectly. Enable minus migrations minus context type name MVC movie dot models dot movie D, oh, not movie DB context 2. Now, if you look up on the screen, please, what if we type that in and it works, if you please look up on the screen, what we're going to have over here is we're going to get a new folder that's going to be called migrations. We do not have one. I'm not asking you, but you can look and see. They're all alphabetized. We do not currently have a migrations folder over here. We should in just a minute if this works, and it should have a file in it that is called configuration.cs. So if you're there, get to the end of the line, hit enter. Hopefully we weren't going to get any errors. It says the context type. Yeah, I don't know why they said 2. I'm going to try it again. So I'm going to use DOS key, but I'm not going to put a 2 on the end. They said to put a 2 on there, but I'm not sure why. So I'm going to do it again and not have a 2 there, and I'm going to hit enter. That's good. Where it says checking if these exist. Notice we don't get a whole boatload of stuff. Y'all see that? But look over here. There's migrations. There's configuration.cs. All right? So at least it appears as if it worked. All right? We're going to find out as we go through this. Now it says what we want to do is we want to open up this configuration.cs file. We literally want to open up that file. All right? And we want to find a method that's called seed. This is where you put your data in. Well, do you see anything wrong with the method the way it currently exists? 5 words. There ain't nothing in it but comments. So make sure you've opened up the document that I'm going over now in Word like I've got it, because we want to copy all this stuff in from Word. We want to go down and find this stuff. It's protected override seed. You want to copy in everything from the beginning of that to the end of it. It's about the equivalent of a page. So you want to grab all that stuff that's in there. Does this make sense to everybody? All right. Otherwise, we would have to manually type in those things, and that's what we had been doing. Now, the reason I think that they're showing it to you like this is normally what would happen is you'd have a data entry person who would have already put all that stuff in for you, and then you'd just be dropping the file in. Does that make sense? All right. So I've got this. Right mouse click, click copy. Then come back over here into this file, and I've got the whole, they want the whole thing replaced. So I'm going to replace the whole thing with this. All right. Now I'm looking at this, and it says new movie, and it's giving me an error. All right. Well, let's see. It says show potential fixes. It says we want to include using MVC movie.models. And once we put that in, so we added this line right here. Once we added that line up in our using statement, the rest of the seed method appears to be okay. I'm not even going to say, do you understand that? All right, it may or may not make sense, but what we're doing is we are populating the database with When Harry Met Sally, Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, and Rio Bravo. Does that make sense? All right. And they mention on the bottom of page 5 in here, it says, when you right-click on the squiggly line, it says you've got to add that using, which we just did. All right. Now, before we go on, I'm going to go, because I'm going to bop back and forth between the document, all right, and with what we're doing. So again, if you look here, I'm on page 6 of this document. All right. It says code first migrations calls the seed method after every migration. In other words, after every time, we're going to run this command in a minute, that you update the database. All right. Then it says the add or update method performs what's called an upsert operation. That's a little, sounds a little weird. Upsert is they've combined, and they're saying you're running the same method whether it's an update or whether it's an insert. Does that make sense? All right. No, the reason I'm saying that is it says add or update here, but it says upsert here. So if you found that confusing, that's what they're saying. So you're going to run that same thing whether it's one or the other. All right? All right. Because the seed method runs with every migration, you can't just insert data because the rows you're trying to add will already be there. The upsert operation prevents that from happening, but it overrides any changes to data that may have been made while testing. Break that down. What the author is saying is after you run this the first time, please listen to this. You don't have to look, but please listen. So you run this the first time, it puts those 4 records in. If you run it again, it won't put in those same 4 records, but it won't search for updates on those 4 records. All right? So they explain that in a lot more depth and much better than I just did right here. Okay? Now, look on the screen. The author says, do a Control-Shift-B to build the project again. Well, again, I think a better way is to click your double disk icon and do a build solution, which is doing the same thing. So please do that. Click the double disk icon and choose build solution. So the author says the next step is to create a DB migration class for the initial migration. This creates a new database. That's why you deleted the old one. So look on the screen, please. What we have to type in is add -migration space initial. But look on the screen. Add -migration, no capital letters. Run it together like it's one word. Add -migration. Then hit the space bar and put in initial with a capital I. All right? If that confused you, I'm saying get to your package manager. And right here, add -migration space initial. That's exactly what they're saying right there. So if you would please do the same thing. Hit enter. Now, typically when it goes through this, believe it or not, yellow's good. Red is not good. That's why before, when I screwed that up by following their instructions, that would typically red or maroon, whatever you want to call that, that usually indicates some kind of an error situation. All right, so now what it says, if you look on the screen, please, now it's created another file. Look, can you see where I am here? And notice 2018 10/04, all right, today's date, right? And then it's got 1754. Well, I don't know where the 17 is from, but the 54 is, it was 54. It really should have been 1254, I think, but at least it looks like a 7 to me. All right, so it's time stamping stuff as it's going through and creating that. It says the migration file is prefixed with a timestamp to help with ordering. All right. So now that we've done that, we told it to migrate over and create the new table for us. Okay. But now we have to come in and type in update minus, all in lowercase, database. This should both create the new database for us and run that seed method. So update space database, hit enter. It says that you can put the minus verbose flag in there. If you put that in, it's going to show you a lot more information. I mean, it's and 90-some% of it you won't care about. That's why most people don't put that in there. All right. So now if you look on the screen here, if I go back to app data and I come back and I click my refresh button, well, I'm hoping it's there. We're going to find out, I guess. All right. But it says, I'm on page 9 of the handout here, and the author says, hey, if you go through all this stuff, all right, so if you go through all of it and you do get some kind of an error, that indicates that the table already exists and can't be created. It says it's because you probably ran the application after you deleted the database, but you did not yet do an update database. In other words, you did the stuff right, but you did it out of sequence. All right? And if they say if that happens, just try it again. All right, well, we're going to find out because I don't see it in there, which always scares the hell out of me. All right? And I even did a refresh here, and it still didn't show, which I thought it would. All right. Maybe we should have actually removed that. I don't know. I'm looking over here, and I'm going to right mouse click on the Server Explorer. There's the original, and I'm hoping that's it right there. If it's got Rio Bravo in there, that should be it. Okay, there's our structure, but I want to right mouse click on the table and choose Show Table Data. And there's Rio Bravo. Okay, so it should have all of this good stuff, so to speak. All right. So let's do this, please, everybody, to make sure that it worked. All right. I'm going to close all my database stuff that's open. I don't need it anymore. I don't need the configuration file. I don't need anything. But with this index.cshtml that's in my views folder here, I'm going to right mouse click on this and choose View in Browser. And I can tell you right now, if you look on the screen, I can tell that this worked. And the reason I can tell this worked, if you look on the screen, if you remember yesterday, I didn't have any idea what that date was. And I think I put in like $5.99 for that. So not only did it create the new database, it seeded it with data. If you have a really complex database structure, you have to go in and make sure that what you're doing, when you put in data, you've got to make sure you're putting it in correctly. Okay? Now you might say, well, duh, but I want to show you something. It's pretty darn important. I'm backing up here. But do you understand? I'm going to go back to that seed data right here. And I'll just grab this one. It doesn't matter which one. This is grabbing all of the stuff from the fields in the database. So it's saying, hey, on our movies table, there's the title, there's the release date, there's the genre, there's the price. The M on there means that it's a money field. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Like I said, I'm not trying to talk down to anyone, but I do want to make sure that people understand it. And Tony, I'm going to take for granted that, because I know you're smart enough that tomorrow when you're working on this, if something doesn't work or doesn't seem to make sense, that you'll ask me on Monday. All right? All right. So the next thing they want us to do, if we look in here right now, we've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4 fields. There's really 5 fields in here. What field don't we see? What movies table field do we not see? How about the ID field? Because that got put in, and it was put in as an auto increment. All right. So the next thing they want us to do in here is they want us to come in and they want us to add a rating property, G, etc. I had a dumb question. Maybe you guys know this, maybe you don't. Do they even still make X-rated movies? I have no clue. I don't think I've ever seen one. All right. I know that now it's 38 years ago almost, but when we had my bachelor party, my brother got a hold of some really raunchy movies that probably would have, sufficed as being X-rated. But they tell us in here, start by adding a new rating property to the existing movie class. All right? Look on the screen here. Please, look on the screen. Play computer. We're going to go into the models folder. We're going to go in to that movie.cs file, and at the bottom we're going to add this. That's the same as though, and you did this, I had you do this last semester when we were working with MySQL and you did an alter table and you added a field. You may or may not remember that, but in essence, that's what we're doing. All right, so this is the new field we want to add. Public, string, rating, get set. All right, so if you would please, okay, under movies, under controllers, find your movies controller. I'm sorry, not under controllers, my fault. Under models, find your movies, movie.cs model. Right here, that's this file. Come down to the bottom and right under price, hit enter and put that in. This is the new field right here in blue. You can either copy it from out of the handout here, or since it's only one, you can do it yourself. All right? Has everybody done that? If you have, click your double disk icon again and do a build solution. All right. Please, somebody answer this question. There's a problem right now. We just added a field to that file. Would you agree with that? But there's a problem. Can anybody guess what it might be? What's that? Well, there's no data in it, but technically that's not a problem because it's a string field. The problem is we updated this, right? But the actual database hasn't been updated. We updated our .cs file, so we did not yet update the database. Because we added a new field to the class, we need to update the database. All right? It says update the bind attribute for create and action methods to include the rating property. I don't know. Is there a bind method in here? Update the bind method for the create. That must be in our controller. Some of the stuff in here, they don't give the greatest of instructions on how to do this. So I'm in movies, my movies controller, and I'm going to look for the create method. Again, I open up the movies controller.cs file. And first I'm going to go down and I'm going to find my create. Here's my details. There's my create. I want the post one. Because you added this, you also need to update the binding whitelist. Update the bind attribute. Right here, you're right. Everybody see this? On mine, it's line 72. Thank you, Colin. It could be something different in yours if you put comments in or move stuff around. But there should be a line in there that says public action result create, and it's got bind include after it. Did you all find that? Go to the end of that line, and right now at the end, the last thing that's there is price. Put in a comma, rating, like that. So add this. After you've added that, click your double disk icon again. So we've saved everything that we're working on. All right. Then go to under views, go to your index.html file. So views, movies, open up your index.html file. It may be open already, but open up that file. And we're going to have to add a rating in two places here. First, we're going to have to add a rating right here to our headings. Notice we've already got an empty one in there. Everybody see this? See how that's empty? Well, I want to copy this line up above it. I'm going to copy that line, and I'm going to paste it in. Yeah, now it's in twice, but I want to change it from model price to model rating. So please add this to your index.cs HTML file. Everything that's in blue right there. That'll add the heading, but we also want to add the data. So down below, where we've got our TDs, all right, we've got to put a new TD in there. So I'm going to copy this one, change that last thing in there to rating. Let me tell you quick, because these are mistakes people oftentimes make. You may or may not have noticed, but when I typed in rating the first time, I typed it in incorrectly. Did you hear me? I left the E on the end from price. So what would have happened is it would have been going out to the database looking for a field called ratinge, and it would have errored out. The other thing people do is, again, look on the screen here. They forget, if you copy this and you bring it in here, it says price. And if you don't change it from price to rating, you'll have price twice. You'll have the price followed by the price. Yes.
On their example, they still have the extra table header.
They do. I don't think it's going to really matter. We can put it in. All right. So the index.cshtml should look like it's shown here. And this is what page? The updated one is shown on page 10. And here's the new stuff. So we've got the new header right there. And then down lower, we've got the new data right there. All right. And you may look at this and go, what a pain in the ass. Do you understand, looking at this, why they try to set it up so that you don't have to add any fields to the database? Because doing it this way is a pain in the butt to do this. All right? And you'd have to do it if you were going to remove a field. Let's say we had a ratings field and we didn't want it. We'd have to go through and remove that from here. We'd have to remove it, every place that it is. We'd have to go back to that original file, remove it from the bind statement. Then we'd have to remove it from the header and remove it from the data in index.cshtml. All right. We're told next we are supposed to go in and open up under movies the create.cshtml file. This one here. Movies create.cshtml. Why? Well, if we're going to go in and create a new movie, now we have to give it a rating. Does that make sense? All right. So we want to add a rating field in here. Notice we got a title. All right, now we get an error message, and then we've got a release date, etc. Then we've got our genre, then we've got our price. All right. Probably the easiest way to do this would be to grab all of this code right here that I've got right here for the form group for the price, copy it to the clipboard, paste it right back in again. Now go in and manually make changes. Instead of price, everywhere that it says price in here, I want to change it to rating. Really wasn't that terrible. All right, there's about 3 places. I had to change it to rating here, and here, and here. You can see all 3 of them on the screen right now. Here, and here, and here. As it says, this will render a text box, so when we create a new movie, all right, we'll be able to give it a rating. We've now updated the application code to support the new rating property. Okay, everybody listen. Don't look, listen. Okay, click your double disk icon. All right, go to your index.cshtml file. Right mouse click on it and choose View in Browser. Okay, what's the problem? I'm asking you a question. What's the problem? All right, you're saying you don't know. Okay, then let's find out. I'm going to go back to where the actual database is right now, which is this one. Okay, I'm going to right mouse click, on my movies table, and I'm going to choose open table definition. What field don't you see here? Everybody see this? There's no rating field in the schema yet. So again, our database is out of whack with the code. The application is now different than the schema of the database. There's no rating column. The author says here, and I want you to see this, all right? The author says here, well, there's a few ways that you can solve this problem. Just jump up here. I've fallen a little behind there. Number one, you can have the entity framework automatically drop and recreate the database for you. What's the problem with having it drop and recreate the database? When you have 4 records, there really is no problem. Does that make sense? If you're Amazon and you got 4 billion records, dropping it, recreating it is a recipe for disaster. All right. Second, we can explicitly modify the schema of the database. So we could go into the schema and change it in there. Does that make sense? I just showed you the schema. Or third, we could use code first migrations to do this. All right. So they want us to open up this configurations file and add a rating for each movie object. If that confused you, look at it this way. All right. Go to the migrations file right here. This one. Open up the configuration.cs file. Open that up. For each one of the fields that's in here, now please look, each record, when you've got like 7.99M or whatever, put a comma, hit enter, and say rating equal, oops, I don't know what I did, but I screwed up something. Rating equal PG, like that. And let's do this, let's make them all PG, or do they show what do they want here? Page 18. Nope. When Harry Met Sally is PG and the other ones are G. Everybody hear me? So add this to When Harry Met Sally. All right? Then go down to the next movie. Go down to the next movie, which is Ghostbusters, and make that a G. Then go down to the next one, which is Ghostbusters 2, make that a G. Finally, go down to the last one, which is Rio Bravo, and make that a G. Has everybody done that? Click your double disk icon. Don't run the program. You don't have to. Click the double disk icon, though, so it saves everything. Now, go back to your package manager. Now, we go back in and we do an update minus database. Question for you. Look on the screen. Do you all know what DOS key is? Do you know that at least on my keyboard, right underneath my right shift key, there's an up and down arrow key. Do you have those? Yes? No? If you do, click the up arrow because it runs DOS key. See this? It remembers the last commands you've run. All right? So you can do that or you can manually type in. Either way. All right? So I'm putting an update space minus database. Hit enter. It's yellow. Yellow is good. Please look at the screen. All right? Notice now in here, under migrations, still has, the file we changed was this one, our configuration file. So we have just the same files we had before, but go back to your index.cs HTML file one more time, right mouse click on it and choose View in Browser. We should not get an error. we should get, we did. All right. I'm going to click the double disk icon again to be sure. I'm going to do a build solution, and I'm going to run the program right from the command line here. All right, so I'm going to click that. Okay, it's still giving us an error. Now, it's okay, because they said earlier this is one of the errors you might get. We got the other one. We didn't get this one originally, but we've got it now. So let's see if we can debug this. The model backing the context has changed since the database was created. Consider using code-first migrations to update the database. Well, I don't know about you, but I thought that's what we just did. All right, so either I skipped a step, not purposely, or something's hosed here. So let's check. We never did this. Please do this for me. Hey, go back to your package manager. All right. I got to find my package manager, so let me stop the run here. There it is. I did skip a step. So go back to the package manager and type in add minus migration rating. That's letting the package manager know we're adding that. My error. All right. Yeah, we should have done that first. So add space migration, hit enter. I'm hoping it doesn't turn red. It didn't. Now I'm going to try and update minus database. All right. Again. Okay, notice what it says. It's applying the migration. It's adding rating. See that? All right. This is what I should have known that was an error, because what I wanted to show you before. Everybody look at the screen, please. See this? That's the second file that got created. I was looking before when I said that, and I was wondering why there wasn't another one, because I screwed up. So let's try it now. Again, I'm going to right mouse click under my views, under index, and choose view in browser, and pray I don't get an error. There it is. There's my movie stuff, and it has my ratings in there. All right. Hopefully that worked for you. If it didn't, I apologize. I'll try to work with you on it in a little bit. All right. That's the end of lesson number 9. All right. Next is lesson 10, which is adding validation. I want to make sure I can get out of here at 2:30, so please take 8 minutes, take your quick break, come back here. I'm starting up at 1:30. All right.